Good morning. How is everybody? We good? Good. Some smiles. Nice. We're going to talk a little bit about emotions today, and team emotions and teamwork. And it dawned on me this morning that, so a little bit of backstory. In January last month, my wife and I just enjoyed the birth of our new fourth little baby. And I realized this morning, I was like, man, I'm talking about emotions. I think it's probably like oxytocin, like in my home. Like there's just a lot of, good things going on. So I realized that maybe there's a connection there. But anyway, we'll talk about that. So again, there's one topic to talk about, a few minutes, two very simple examples that hopefully you can take back with you to your workplace and maybe try it out. It's this one. This is the topic, empathy. Now, are we a little sick of hearing about this word? Let's be honest. We've all kind of heard this word. Are we not sick of it? We use this word a lot. Each of us have probably read about 100 articles on this over the last couple of years. It's a good thing. If these are good things, it's a good thing to talk about. What I want to talk about is a little bit of a different take on it, and it's this, is that empathy starts with your team. Unless you're taking care of each other, the folks you spend more time with in the world than anybody, the product in the end is going to reflect bad things if you don't. We're going to talk about kind of two ways that at Full Story we think about these things. The first one is this. This is the bow tie theory of product development. Now, it sounds very formal. It's very informal. But it's kind of fun. It's a fun way we've begun thinking about how we relate to each other at Full Story. And so it goes like this. On the vertical axis, you've got all possible things. Everything. Hang with me. On one end of the bow tie, you've got the best things you can imagine. All possible creative thought is on this axis right here, on this side of the bow tie. And this is the side of the bow tie that probably many of us are very comfortable living in, am I right? Pretty comfortable in this one. Conceptual, abstract thinking, constraints be gone, let's build an ivory tower, those kinds of things. And then we got these people, the people that care about things that can be true. Now, if we're lucky, we've got people on both sides of this that we work with every day. Folks like us that maybe live here, some of us may live here. Oftentimes I find in my own work, if I've been working on something for a long time, I've been beat down by it, I may kind of drift over to this side, right? There was an instance about a year ago, at Full Story, we're working on a new search interface. And we spent a few months, myself and another designer, kind of drawing up some very highly conceptual, kind of like, what is the best interface for search? What could we do differently, given all the data that Full Story's got? What can we do that would be really profound? And so we spent a few months drawing up kind of concept car, living on this side of the bow tie. And then we put the project aside because some other priorities took over. And then, 6 months later, we decide that we're actually going to start to build that thing. What are we going to build? We're going to build a new search interface we've always wanted. And sure enough, I didn't realize this, but I had drifted to this side of the bow tie. Things that can be true. And I didn't realize this. So the concepts I was drawing up weren't as inspired as these original ones. And so they were very basic. And there were some interesting things about it. But it took another coworker to say, Josh, you know what? You're kind of on the other side of the bow tie. What happened? And, oh my gosh, you're right. I've been beat down, right? We all get beat down. But you get the idea. Folks like us, we need to get more realistic by these folks that are challenging us to actually live in the constraints that we actually have to deal with. And the folks that are living over in the things that are true, the capabilities, they need to be challenged by us to be more imaginative. So we're both challenging each other. And in the end, you meet in the middle, and you have the best imaginable, realistic thing. So this is the bow tie theory. And this is something that we use. Like, we actually talk, it may sound kind of corny, quite honestly. I was like, I don't know. But it actually is a pretty useful way to think about things and to say, you know what, Bruce, you're a little too far on this side of the bow tie. I'm over here. How can we work more towards this side? Say, well, we'll work towards the middle. And the idea is you just bounce between these two modes. And so it's interesting and useful to think about your own, to kind of be introspective, think about where am I with this part of the process, the feature we're building, where am I living right now? How can I pull others a certain direction? Think about these things. So that is the bow tie theory. The second one, around this topic is just very simple. Take care of each other. What's that look like? Rich was talking about some of this stuff earlier. How do we think about facilitation? How do we think about how do we work, process as a team? What I'm going to do is actually show you a visualization that just shows you what I think is my best approximation for team emotions. When you've got engineers, product people, research designers all in the same room working on something. At the very beginning of a new thing, it's a very fragile thing. You've got this idea, this problem you want to solve, and it's fragile because we're not quite sure what it looks like in the end, right? The bow tie is really a tricky spot right here. But at the end, if we're lucky, there's something ships, and we get to celebrate that, and we get to move on and show the world something new. So how are we feeling as a team here? Well, again, this is an averaged out view. Think of everybody on your team. Think about that. We're probably feeling a little timid here in general. The folks that are bringing the average up are the folks that are on the other side of the bow tie, right? The left side of the bow tie. They're optimistic. This is where we thrive for many of us. But others think, like my CEO, finance people, budgetary folks, maybe an engineer that's kind of stuck on the other side of the bow tie, they're bringing the average down. So that's how we're feeling. It was really clear to me also outside, back in I guess it was last summer, I was working, our church was actually moving into a new warehouse. We're renovating, building a new space. And we had a meeting with an architect, like a very first meeting with this architect that was going to show us what we could do with this space. And there was a few of us sitting around the table with these plans. And I walked out of that room thinking, my goodness, this architect gets our community, he gets our church, he understands us where we want to take this thing. Everybody else in the room was kind of like, ugh, I don't know about this. We've got finances. Does he understand it? So there was a real struggle there. But it was just funny because I didn't realize, I was like, well, I thought this was perfect. And so again, just to recognize these things. Where do your teammates land on these things? And to begin to work with each other on those things. The project gets going. The average is brought up a little bit. We have something tangible maybe at this point. And then, oh my goodness, this solution to a problem not only solves the thing we wanted to solve, but it may hit 2 or 3 other things. And that's super exciting, right? That's a good thing. So emotions are lifted. But inevitably, there's going to be a roadblock. There's this time coming where we got to actually start building this thing, actually commit to code, commit to saying no to things, commit to saying yes to the things we really care about. And that's kind of scary. So again, our average is brought down. We're working through it. We start building. We're kind of heads down. We're working. And then, oh my goodness, there's some constraints or an edge case or somebody left the team. Again, these are all moments where you can begin thinking about, okay, how can I love my teammates better? How can I take care of them? How can I serve them in ways? And again, I think for me, this is all kind of new thinking for me because I've worked on my own for so long, kind of as a single designer, working amongst engineers. And as the company's gotten bigger and so forth, I start thinking about, okay, how can we all serve each other better as the team's growing? So then we're back to coding. Eventually, we see the end in sight. We're excited. And then, 12 hours before we ship the thing, we kind of panic. And you get the idea. So again, I think there's not much here practically you can take home other than to say there's things that you can do to actually just simply recognize where we are as a team, as an individual, myself, those around me. How can I begin to, feed off somebody who's stronger in one of these areas? How can I support people in the areas where I tend to be stronger? Those kinds of things. So that is the topic. Empathy starts with your team. You've got your product, you've got your team. We often forget the team. Don't forget your team. That's what really matters. Those are people. You work with them the most. So you can contact me, Josh at Full Story, and on Twitter. Thank you.